About now.
Yes, now we
Hey,
can.
everybody, what's going on?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We had to move into a different room. They got Quantum Leap going on, so you're going to be at a weird angle. I'm going to hang out so we can make sure the PowerPoint runs good, but it is Mr. Brian's show today. So I'll let him reintroduce himself.
Hi, I'm Brian. For those of you guys at home, Hunter is going to be helping me out with answering questions and things. So if you could just watch that, because I'm going to be this way. But I definitely want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts. This is very much a discussion type course, not reading from the book kind of thing. So I want y'all's engagement. I want your involvement. If I look over here, it's just because that's where the TV is, but I'm not ignoring you. I know you're right there. But raise your hand. Hunter will hook you up, ask questions, and give some feedback. Today, we are going to do negotiate the deal. And this is actually one of my favorite classes to do in Ignite, because when I got into real estate, I was very anxious, very afraid of negotiations, right? Because I felt like nobody would negotiate with me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to ask. And I remember on my first few deals, really dreading those phone calls to ask for very simple things. And then my wife made a comment about, why are you so afraid to negotiate about days on an auction period, for example, or counter back on the price? She's like, in life, every day you negotiate. And I started thinking about that. Like, I've got a little girl and a little boy, and we negotiate on everything from like, how much dessert can you get to can you stay up later? And it's always that thing like, hey, so you want an extra set of gummy bears? I need you to clean your room, But we realize, and that's one thing, like coming back to it, I didn't realize how much negotiation I was doing just in my life every day. And so when I put that into perspective, the contract terms stuff, all that became easier. So to start into that, I wanted to get an idea from all y'all at home and for y'all that are here, has anybody done a transaction yet? Closed a deal? Anybody at home closed a deal? Hands up. All right, we got one. All right, cool. When we negotiate, it's important to recognize market functions first, because it tells you, kind of the nature of the marketplace, right? Who has the advantage in a transaction? Is it the buyer or is it the seller? Overall, what would you say that today's market for December 2020 is? Is it a seller's market or a buyer's market?
Seller.
Good. Why would you say that? That's correct, I would say.
There are not a whole lot of houses available.
Yeah, it's a function of supply. So there's not enough houses available. What that means is there's more buyers than there are listings. So, if you've had those buyers, sometimes you have to stand in line. Have any of y'all had the fun of standing in line yet? It's been like that for years.
And also more than that, a lot of buyers are in the range of between, I would say, 250, 300 to 500. The inventory for good houses in that price range is nearly non-existent. And the houses which are coming up are built in 80s and early 90s, and they're not updated. And, many years ago, a $300,000 house was a great house. Not anymore.
Yeah, I know, right? You make a good point. But that's the interesting thing. And Suresh makes a very smart point, which we'll touch on here in just a minute. But thank you for that, because not every price point, not every town, not every area is a seller's market, right? So in $1 million and up, is that a seller's market? Maybe not, If you go to, say, Highland Park for $1 million, is that a seller's market? Well, yeah, because $1 million doesn't buy you but dirt in Highland Park, But in $10 million, is that a seller's market? Probably not, right? But to Suresh's point, when listing pops up, everybody in town goes to that listing and gets multiple bids. If you're representing the buyer, you want to negotiate a contract differently than if you were representing the seller, right? And the trick to real estate is we all want to get the same thing done, right? We want to get the deal signed, we want to get the deal closed. But if you're on the seller side or on the buyer side, whatever you're doing it opposite of the other side, right? Seller, you want the most money. Buyer, you want the least money, right? So let's talk about that. Has anybody, I know that we had one closing. Has anybody written a contract yet? Have y'all had a contracts class yet?
I'm actually doing that today. Today,
Doing that today?
I'm putting in an offer this morning on a house, and
Well, that's awesome.
there's already six offers.
Well, so maybe we would like to get your insight on some of this as we talk about some of these points. For those of you that haven't written a contract, there's Texas contracts are easy in the sense that they give you the promulgated form. We check the boxes and fill in the blanks, right? And so we're just on a side note on contracts, every blank must be filled out. Every box must be something done with it. You can't just skip it if you don't know what it means. If you don't know what it is, come talk to me, I'll help you out. But in contracts, there's usually a couple things that matter. And let's get some ideas, like what are things that you would think would be negotiable terms in a contract? For y'all up here, like talk to me. For those of you online, like Hunter will help me get your answers. But what are things that are negotiable points?
Option money and earnest money, and how many days you can back out. And normally in a situation like you have 6 offers, if you say the house was for 320 and you say that you would not back off if the valuation of the house comes at 318 and you gave an offer at 325, you would honor that 325. That would be of a great interest to the seller because they know the loan qualification would be only up to 318, but you're ready to commit 325, which means you're giving $7,000 from the pocket. Those kind of things are important.
Okay, so Suresh mentioned 3 things in his response: the earnest money, the option money, and an appraisal clause. Let's talk about each of these points separately so that we can make sure everybody knows what those are. Does everybody know what earnest money is? Can someone tell me what that is? You can talk.
Is it money that
Right. Yes. Let's make sure that he's got this right, and then we'll pick that back up.
You're good.
Okay.
I was going to look up something for him.
So yeah, earnest money is what we call like your good faith money, right? It's money that's held in escrow, such that if either party were to back out or terminate or default, that money is up for grabs. Average for earnest money on a contract. Say you have a $300,000 house. What would be acceptable considered earnest money?
1% of the value of the house?
Generally, that's correct, yes. Is it a hard and fast rule? Is it a law? No.
Yeah.
Your earnest money could be $10. Your earnest money could be $100,000. But to his point, thank you, Suresh, 1% is what we generally want to see. So if I'm a seller and you make an offer with $3,000 in earnest money, that's good. Checks the box. If you are the buyer and I'm the seller and we have 6 offers and your earnest money is $10,000 and yours is $1,000 and yours is $3 and yours is $5, who do I, knowing everything else is equal, who do I like best between the 4? I like you the best. Why? Right. And so what's the perception? You give me more earnest money, what do I think?
Higher interest.
That's absolutely right. She is the most serious. Now, is she the most qualified buyer? Any of these things? Well, let's talk about that. And those are things that we'll discuss in the classes. How do we figure out if she's really my best buyer? But all things being equal, yeah, the $10,000, she's come to the game to play, right? I like that. Option money is another point that Suresh mentioned. Does anybody know what that is?
That's a token money,
Yes.
a token money which is given. If you back off from the offer, you don't get it. And this is for the sellers to keep. You could apply towards the closing, or you can give this as a gift to the seller.
Correct. So in Texas, we have what's called an option, right? It's your due diligence period. It's your option to back out. I always tell people, if you wake up and the sky is blue and that makes you mad, you can back out of this deal. But you have a period of time in which the buyer has the undisputed right to terminate the contract for any reason. Say, I don't like it, buyer's remorse. Say the repairs are bad. I'm afraid of the foundation falling apart. say I hate sunshine and I'm just a grouchy person. You know, any reason, I don't need one, but in that prescribed days, if I pay that fee, within that prescribed days, I can walk for anything. So on the seller side, I want to see less days, right? Because I tell my sellers, so you got to hold your breath this many days and we make sure we get past it, right? On the buyer side, well, you want what? More time. Why? Because my house is tied up for you. You know, so this gives you a chance to get 1 million inspections done and make me absolutely insane. But you can do that because it's your right. Suresh made a very smart point. There is, and the contract is going to be revised in February to move the option paragraph, but for now we'll talk about how it is. But there's a box on there that says it will or will not be credited. Most always people put it will be credited. Why? So say I've got, what was your name? Andrea. So Andrea is my $10,000 earnest money gal. And she gives, and I like her. And she's got, say, a $500 option fee. I like that, right? Because most people put it in about, you know, $100 or something. Like I couldn't roll my eyes and be more bored. But she's coming into the party with $500. Like I like her, right? So now her buyer has put up $10,500. So say I got the number. So if she backs out in her period of time, her buyer gets $10,000 back, right? Because she terminated within the rights of the contract. Now, if she closes, to Suresh's point, that money counts as money paid. Okay, so the buyer's already chipped in $10,500 toward whatever they got to do. Now, one thing that makes your offer super smart is most people, and I would expect that Andrea did it this way too, said the option fee would be credited to the buyer. Cool. But you can say that it will not be credited to the buyer. What does that mean to me as the seller? Well, that's fancy because that means that in that situation, she's only getting credit for $10,000. My seller got a free $500. We don't have to pay it back. So if I take her deal, you get $500 free. It's like a game show. You know, if all things were being equal and you say you all had $10,000 earnest money and you all had $500 options, but she was the only one that said that the seller could keep it, who do I like most? Sorry, you're still my friend. You know, but I like that better. Why? Because it's money for my client. Bottom line profit. Does that make sense to everybody at home? Thumbs up if yes. Good. The other thing that he mentioned was an appraisal clause. This is a kind of a dicey sort of transaction clause, and I feel like that is better completely discussed in a contracts class. But the basic idea of this is that say there's a house for $300,000 and you bid 305, 310, 315, and 320, right? All things being equal, who do I like best? What's your name, sir? Brad. So I like Brad the best. But I'm a smart listing agent and I know I priced my house right and it should be 300,000. Can I take Brad's offer at 320? Yes, I can. Why would I take Brad's offer at 320 if it's really only worth 300? More money, but can I get it closed? To Suresh's point, I can this way. If I say, hey, Brad, thank you for the fantastic offer. I love it. Have you looked at the comps? And he says, yep, I know that there's no way, or I think it's great. Whatever he thinks, I don't care. Bottom line is, can I close it, right? Through this appraisal addendum, I can come to Brad and say, hey man, we love your offer. I don't think it'll appraise for 320. Is the buyer willing to drop 20K in cash on it in the event that it doesn't appraise? He says yes. Sweet. So what that means is that there would be a special contract document that we would negotiate that would say at any point over 300,000, he's paying that difference. So it comes in at 315, great, he owes me 5. Comes in at 305, well, he owes me 15 because he agreed we'll pay 320 no matter what. If you didn't and you didn't and you didn't and none of you guys at home did, you're my best friend. Why? Because I know I can easily sell it for any amount and you're going to back it up. Does that make sense? Appraisal addendums are kind of complicated. If you're in a multiple bid situation, a smart listing agent is going to ask you to back that up if you bid over. My personal opinion, this is Brian's thought, listing agent is obligated to hit the list price. Buyer's agent is responsible for anything over. So if it comes in at 295 and you bid 300, well, I'm wrong, right? That starts it over. But that would be something that would be beneficial for anybody in a buyer's scenario. Yes, sir.
It kind of happened to me. We moved from Carlsbad, New Mexico, oil area, just overgrown with oil. And put our house in the market. Listed at 425, found an offer at 420. Yes, the appraisal came in at 400. And we were stuck.
Yeah.
Because the market was going down and we ended up taking it.
Yeah, and there's different reasons and different factors that would go into it. We could spend all day on the appraisal addendum, but the bottom line for what you need to know on the buyer side is, number one, it's negotiable. And number two, if you're going to offer over, don't be surprised if a smart listing agent comes back to you and says you're going to back it up. You know, if it comes in under the price, well, that's a completely different conversation. Back to the original question.
They don't have anything compared against comparables, right?
Say that again.
At the time of the offer, they don't have anything, they don't have appraisal, all they have is comps.
Correct.
Okay.
But to that point, you should be able to sit down with your comps and say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this is how I've evaluated the property. You know, it's listed for 300. Here are 5 properties that sold in the neighborhood, ranging from 295 to 315. Value is there. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I looked at the neighborhood. I looked at comparable properties. This one that you love is priced at 300. Did you know everything else in the neighborhood selling for 175? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, do you want to buy this house? You know, but you need to present them that information. They don't know what you know. You know, so give them that information, help them make the best decision. Don't tell them you should offer 300. Show them why they should offer what they offer. Let them pick the number, but tell them, you know, what it needs to be.
Notice you didn't say when that loan was priced at 300, everything was selling at 175. Do not buy this house. The act, would you like to, he presents, just like we talked about with James Hansen, you'll never lose a night of sleep at this business, provided you don't make a decision for a client. You present the information.
Absolutely. You know, and you can be candid with them too. You know, here are all the pros and cons. Hey, I understand you want to buy it. Great. This is what it is, but you need to set out those expectations. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, here's what could potentially happen, right? Well, let's go back. What other things can we talk about in a contract that are negotiable points?
I'm going to share real quick on the Google Drive. You guys all have access.
We teach a class on winning multiple offers, and it covers a lot of these items. So I'm going to pull it up to show everybody. This will be found in your Google Drive. Basically, it gives you a lot of these terms that y'all are discussing today. So it'll be something you'll want to have with you. Like Sandra, I know you're writing a multiple offer today. So you'll want to go through and look at this. It's got an example of a letter you may submit with an offer. It's got an example of what I put in the email when I submit the offer, and a lot of these terms you guys are going over.
Okay, great.
That's in the Google Drive under Agent Resources. I'll make sure you've got access to it. All right, back to you. I'll get out of your way.
All of this is actually fantastic. So 200's point, if y'all can see this, you know, even in here, like putting 2% or more shows the buyers that you're serious. We kind of talked about that. 1% is kind of the standard, but Andrea being our big winner, she did better than 2. She did 3%, right? Nothing that says you can't do it. You know, always ask Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, what would you like to offer, right? Set the expectation, ask the question. Other things, what's more important? Or, you know, what else is important?
You may have mentioned this, so I apologize if you did, but a closing date.
Not been mentioned.
I'm sorry?
Not been mentioned. So point for you.
Gotcha. Yeah, a lot of times people assume that a seller wants to close as soon as possible, but that is certainly not always the case, and it's often not.
That's a brilliant answer. Did y'all hear what he said? Yeah. So, yeah, don't make that mistake that think that they want a 30-day close.
And one important thing is you can give a lease back to the seller at no cost because if they're going to be in the house for a few days to a week or a certain amount of time, that's a big lollipop for the seller you're throwing in.
I like that. I'm going to steal that too. I haven't called anything a big lollipop before, so that's pretty fun. I like that. But no, he makes a very, very smart point, right? If I am moving, and I have sold my house and I've got a job that starts in Florida, February 15th. Do I want to move before Christmas? Maybe, maybe not, you know, like, why make that assumption that I want to move? If you gave me a 30-day, you gave me a 30-day, you gave me a 30-day, and you said, hey, what do you want? Who do I like best? Sorry, I'm flanking either side. Oh, I'll pick up. But yeah, and it's to Suresh's point. Hey, do you need a lease? These are all very good things to do. Why? Because a seller's lease has very little value. You know, it's a per diem kind of on the day. But it's always, I've found, this is Brian's asterisk thought, one of two things matters most. It's either money or it's time. You know, pick one. You know, and you win as the agent that gets both, right? So I got the best price and I got the best terms in terms of time, right? That seller lease, easy to do. 2 or 3 days is very common. Sometimes you'll see it in MLS where it'll ask you, you know, please include a seller's lease. If you don't know how to write a seller's lease, come by and visit me, I'll help you out, okay? But very good point, gentlemen, I like that. Anything else that we want to talk about that are negotiable points in our contract?
One important thing is, if everything being equal, and if your buyer is compassionate and has a reason, a very well written letter from the heart to the seller makes a difference. We live in this country where everybody is running for dollars, but a request of why you would want to buy this house, why it is important that this house you should buy. This is the buyer, not the buyer's agent. That letter from time to time can make a difference, because people in our country, especially in down south Texas, compassionate people, and the sellers will take a look at it and listen to it, especially if the sellers are older folks or even the younger folks. It's the spectrum of age. Everything being equal, if a letter comes from the heart of the buyer or buyer's children, you know, why it is important for those kids to go to that school or school district, can make a difference, if everything being equal.
Right, and we'll address seller letter in a minute. That's a smart point. A couple other things just to think about. Remember, every blank is a negotiable point. So things that are also negotiable. Who pays for a survey? What title company do we close at? Is there a home warranty, and what's the credit for that? What about appliances, or the pool table, or the patio set, furniture, chattel, you know, non-realty items? All of those things are all negotiable points, right? In a multiple offer situation, those things play a larger role than on a listing that's been on market 90 days, right? Which do you think is easier to get a lower price on? The listing that's been on market 90 minutes or 90 days? Absolutely. You know, but can you assume that you can lowball them at 90 days? No, you cannot. So we make an offer. One of three things will happen. You either win, you lose, or they counter. And if you counter, I would look at that as closer to winning than losing. Why? In a multiple bid situation, if I called you, what's your name, man? Hey, Lauren. So I call Lauren, I say, Lauren, you're my favorite so far. Does Lauren have the deal? No. But what's Lauren thinking? Yay! Why? Because I called her. You know, hey, you got one shot. Give me what I want, right? But she's in the game. You know, if she, so I gave her a counter. At the moment, I've rejected all of you. I haven't accepted anybody, but I'm looking to accept her. So I need you to do this, this, and this. Can you do it? Yes, no. Yes, you win. Acceptance. Everybody else was rejected. She says, I'll give you two of them, but on the other one, I want this. Okay, she counter offered to me. Ball's in my court. Think about this just like volleyball. The net is your line. You can only play ball with one person at a time. So I can't play with you and you and you and you. That would be totally illegal. Don't do that. But she counters back. I say, hey, I want 300. So your offer was 290. I want 300. You come back at 295. Your offer is 297. Since I hold the ball, do I have to counter her again? No. So I can reject you, and I can hang out with you now. All right, well, now I got 4 points for you. Give me what I want. Right? Yes, 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 yes. Great. I accept. You win. Everybody else was discarded. Does that make sense? I was trying to give y'all some love in the middle. Absolutely. And so communication, and this is Brian's opinion, but it's the most important thing you can ever do to win a deal, right? I have won deals with less than the best offer numerous times because the agent called and said, you were the nicest one to deal with, you were the smartest one to deal with, or you communicated the best. You know, all of those basic things, just like treating people like humans stuff, remember? Like that goes a long way. So if I don't have the best offer, I still want that listing agent to love me more than she loves you. And how do I do that? Well, it's by communicating. Say I'm that listing agent. I would give you that courtesy and say, well, hey, I want 300. You're giving me 295. I mean, I get it. What I would probably do is say, I have other offers that are better than that. Are you sure you want to go with this? Hint, 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 hint. You know, nope, 295 is all I'm going to do. All right, well, at that point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call Lori. And then you're going to be like, no. I'll be like, I haven't hung up yet. Did I get my 300? No? All right. Hey, Lori, how's your day? You know, that's how I would play. But I would let her know, I hold the ball. You gave me the ball. I'm not giving it back to you. Sorry. You know, I'm going to go in and I'm going to throw the ball at you. Does that make sense for y'all at home? Let me move this up.
And the, you know, we're in the seller's market that we are. If you're the seller's agent, is it wise to, when you get down to that, and let's say you've got multiple offers, to just deal independently with each of them, or to just put in there, look, best and final by this time? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
as far as their offers, like how do you do that?
Very good question. So the question was, you know, how do you deal with all the people? That can be hairy, right? Because the longer you have a listing that's getting showing, the more probability that more offers were coming. My responsibility as a seller's agent is to treat you all fairly. So if Andrea, she calls me and she says, hey, Brian, how many offers do you have? Well, I mean, I can tell her or not tell her. There's no law that says I can't tell her, hey, I got 5. But if I tell her I have 5, and at the end of the day, you call me and now I have 10, and I say, well, I got 10, did I do a disservice to her? Because she's telling her clients, hey, there's 5 offers, so there may not be as much competition. But he knows there's 10 offers. That's twice the competition. Did I give him an unfair advantage? I didn't mean to mess it up, but I did. I was not right for you and I favored you. That would put me in trouble. So I always say numerous, multiple. That's why you see that listing there, deadline. Because if I tell her, hey, we're going to take offers until 5 o'clock tonight, and you call me at 7 o'clock tonight and say, oh, I'm going to make an offer. Well, the seller can say, yes, I want to wait for that offer. I need to get my seller's permission to do that. But I can't play against her because she worked really hard to get me this offer by 5 o'clock, you know, and I'm going to take her offer. She's got the best one because remember, she's got $10,000 in earnest money. I like her. And you roll in with $20,000 after the mark, I can take it, but I have to be fair, you know, and how that is the discretion of your seller. So Mr. Seller, hey, I got this other offer, it's better. We were working with buyer A. What do? If buyer A holds the ball, I can't hang out with you. If she counters back, well, hey, you know, I would really rather use lawyer's title instead of Republic. Oh, great, now I got the ball. So I could be a jerk and be like, hey, now I hold the ball, I'm so sorry. I'm going over here. What Brian would do would be to level the playing field. Andrea, just so you know, you're my favorite. I got your offer. My clients were looking to accept it, but we got Lori's offer a minute ago. I have to present it. Why? You have to present offers. My seller has asked that I review this offer. I want to give you a chance. This is what I need. Can I do that?
Can you tell them? Like you're saying you would tell them what the offer is from the...
No, I would just tell her I have a better offer. So I have a better offer. We were going to sign her deal. Then you come in, you're late to the party, but yours is better. And I wanted to take yours. My seller can say, sign that one. So I signed with Lori, I'm so sorry. As long as I have the ball, I can switch gears and switch to you, right? If she holds the ball, I can't do anything, right? Other than maybe withdraw the offer. Hey, we are completely withdrawing all negotiations with you. Put it in writing. I'm so sorry. Have a nice day. You know, what I would do, me personally, is I would take your offer and I would look at your offer and I would talk to my client. And I'd say, these are the reasons why I favor this agent over that agent. If I still favored you, even though your offer was inferior, I could get approval from my seller. If you will match these terms, you win. And that isn't a matter of sending you the contract. It says, hey, she's got 20,000 in earnest money and you got 10. Can you get me 20? Yeah, I can. Great. I'll sign with you. I can play it as long as I hold the ball, but I have to be fair and honest to everybody and I can't play favorites. Even if one of y'all were to come to my listing. Say I got 3 grouchy old lady Ebby Halliday agents making offers and one of y'all. Well, clearly I heart you, but I can't favor you, over the grouchy Ebby ladies because of brokerage, right? I have to make it equal. I would love to work with you, Lori. Your offer is 90,000 under mark. We're not gonna get there. Grouchy Ebby lady, we're gonna hang out. Does that make sense? Okay.
You have to present the offer that comes in after another.
You have to present all offers unless the seller says, and you have it in writing, at 5:01, I don't want to see it. At that point, I would tell you when you call, oh my God, can I get my offer in? No, my client has written orders that says nothing after 5:01 p.m. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Never. They're like, no, tell her to make 2 offers, but to your point, yes, I would present all offers.
Is that correct advertising? Somewhere that says offer for 5 o'clock? If you don't have it in writing?
Well, remember, the seller or the buyer, they make the rules, right? We're just the vehicle of getting it done. So if the seller instructs you to say offers due at 5 o'clock, why would I do that? Well, that saves me stress, right? Because that way I don't have all y'all calling me the next day. Hey, can I make an offer? No, read the listing. It was done yesterday. So it sets the expectation. But yeah, I mean, is there an exception to the rule? If you had called me, and again, there's real estate, man, there's about 9 million what ifs. But if I knew she was coming and she got in a car accident and then her kid had to go to the hospital and then they all got COVID, but whatever reason, she was going to get me an offer an hour late, would I look at it? Probably, because she's called me, oh my God, now we got a wreck. Now we're going to the hospital. Now we're doing this, but I'm writing it all up on my tablet. Well, damn, Mike, that's amazing. Okay, I want to see that. But I'm not going to hold her to that unless my seller says too bad. But again, to Hunter's point, no one's going to.
You could present it to your seller that, hey, we could do this at 5. It doesn't have to be set in stone. We'll let them know. And then if something comes in, I'll still present it to you. If you prefer not to have anything, then let's get it in writing.
You should be able to gauge it too.
Right.
If you have that fantastic listing where you've got 30 showings on the first day, it's going to be a madhouse.
Yeah.
And you need to let your client know, hey, we're going to set a deadline Sunday at 5, but just know, like, we still got 7 showings after that. Someone might make an offer. So at that point, what I would say is showings end at 5, seller will present offers at noon on Monday. That way I can get everybody in and give everyone fair chance. Yeah. Yeah.
All within $5,000, all within $100.
Right.
God forbid I got another 20 of these.
Yeah, shoot me. Yeah, I'd rather jump off a bridge. Yeah, and Hunter makes a fantastic point. Like Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what else would you need? Like none of these offers have come with treasure chests full of rubies. Are we waiting for that buyer that will have it? Can we go with what we got? Right, market's in. Questions on those ideas?
So I have a question. So from our perspective, like if we're the ones who can offer like the deadline is 5 o'clock, should we just go ahead and disregard that and still reach out and let them know if our client wants to present an offer? Because I know you were saying like there's an exception to the rule and you've never really had a seller that's like, no, I don't want to hear it. So if I happen upon a listing and 6 o'clock, my people want to make an offer on it, but they're being set best and final by 5, should I still reach out?
Absolutely. Because remember, and that's a very great segue. Thank you. You should be like, it's scripted for that because this segues perfectly. But yeah, communication is important, right? And we're now kind of over on page 10-ish in the book, talking about like, how are we going to learn? What are we going to learn about our property? Because we got to be informed, right, to make these decisions. So to your point, I would call the listing agent. Hey, Lori, I showed your house. I saw you had a best and final at 5. I know it's 6 o'clock. Is it too late to make an offer? She'll tell me yes or no. Yep, sorry, we already picked one. Okay, I know what to do. Nope, we got offers coming in. I'm not going to present them until tomorrow. Get it to me by noon. Okay, so then I can call my buyer and tell them here's the rule, right? Because it's going to vary. If I call you on your listing, that's a completely different answer because it's completely different people. So you want to call and find those things out. What I would recommend, especially like to Suresh's point, in certain price points in certain areas where it's going to be competitive, I would call that listing agent up front. Like, hey, Hunter, Brian Davis over at Keller Williams, I love your listing on Bluebonnet. And he's going to say, yes. And he'll tell me something, and then I can ask him questions. Hunter, do you have any offers? He will give me information, why he's trying to get the best deal for his client. So he may say, no, I've got a lot of people looking at it, but I got no offers. Interesting. That tells me one thing, right? He says, Brian, I got so many offers, don't even waste your time. That tells me something. He might tell me any number of things like, oh my God, I hate my client so much. Please just get me out of this horrible, hellish nightmare. That tells me something too, But I want to call Hunter. I want to figure out what's Hunter going to tell me. Ask him questions, be super nice, shut up, and let him tell you everything. Oh my gosh, yes, brilliant. Like, do you go to jail for asking what's your highest offer? No. Is he maybe a bad agent if he tells me? Yeah. Am I going to report him? Nope. Why? I totally won that with an 001, and we're closing tomorrow. And there were, I don't know, piles, I think was the word she said, piles of offers. And we beat it with 001.
This is a side note question. When you're contacting agents, like if you're wanting to do an open house or you have, an interest, does it matter how you communicate? Like, do most agents prefer you call them? Because everyone I've called, it goes straight to their voicemail. Do people prefer text? Like, what does it matter? I know that's kind of silly, but.
So one thing you want to know is how to communicate, right? Right. So you'll ask your buyers and your sellers, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer Seller, how do you like to communicate? They'll tell you, call me, email me, text me. That's what you do. With the other agent, I would always call first. I love the phone. If they don't answer, I will send them a text.
Okay.
If they want to text me, fine. As long as I can get what I need. But I would rather call them because I can infer so much on the phone. Like, hey, Hunter, I'm calling on your listing on Bluebonnet. And he goes, I can't sigh. I can't understand sigh in text message. But if he groans, I'm like, oh, okay. So that might, in my head, I'm like, well, why is he groaning? Man, is that listing blowing up? No, it's terrible. I thought it would sell, but nobody's even shown it. Ooh. Well, all right then. I am going to be your friend. I'm going to show this out. But yeah, I would always call.
So you'll learn your co-op agents pretty quickly what they like. Some agents like call and never always ask. I don't know. There's some agents where it gets tense to the point where they're getting too emotional. I'll at that point quit calling. And I'm like, okay, we're moving to text because every time I get on the phone with you, you attack me like I'm the enemy. All I'm doing is representing my client.
Yeah, you'll get a screaming
The best way for us to get to the finish line is to just plain facts on a text message or email. That's when it goes like that, but it happens.
It'll happen. You'll get the screamers, and you just say, oh, okay. What that means for you is all the agents that are not screamers, love them in the transaction because they will love you. And you just deal with the screamer. But I don't know. I've been lucky this year. Yeah, I haven't had too many screamers this year. And you find out too, they're from you're always from the same spot. But things to know, right? Like, I just did my legal 1 and 2, so the canons of professionalism, right? The thing that the Texas Real Estate Commission is really harping on is You must be competent. You know, you need to do this. Am I licensed in Texas? Yes. Can I sell you a property in Galveston? Yes. Do I know anything about Galveston's market? No. Do you want to hire me to be your buyer's agent in Galveston? No. Why? I don't have competency in Galveston, right? Can I sell your house in Carrollton? Yes, I can. You know? So the thing is, you need to be smart. You need to know your market. You need to know your comps. You need to know your contract docs. You need to know as much gossip as you can know about that property that you're going to make an offer on. Or if you're the seller, you need to know everything that's comparable and competitive. You need to be competent in your job so that you can direct your sellers. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it's been a week, we've had no showings. That's because everything in your neighborhood is priced at 175, remember? And we're at 300. Maybe we should fix that. You're an idiot if you took that listing anyway. That's just something. But know your client, know how they communicate. When you work with another agent, try and figure out how they communicate. You know, if they like text, love them on some text. You know, real estate is a human thing. And there's an adage out there that says, people don't kill deals, realtors kill deals. And that's because you were mean to me and you called me this name. Who cares about any of that stuff? Not worth it. Be professional and get it done. So what are we going to learn about? Well, we talked about our comps. Has anybody done comps before? Everybody know how to do comps? Comps? Okay.
Unfortunately, the new Ignite is lacks some content, as you've noticed, the contract class, DMA class. The basics, we're putting in extra hours to get those done.
Yep. Did you know now we have to take a 3-hour contracts class for license renewal?
Yes, I think Christine.
I was like, I got all my stuff done. Oh, wait, no, I'm not done. Oh my gosh. But yeah, let's talk real quick about our client. If you represent the seller, you should know basic things like, you know, the age of this and has it had foundation repair? You should know what the condition of the house is. Hopefully you've seen it, you know? You should know when they want to move. You should know what they owe. You should be able to give them a net sheet. Do y'all know what a net sheet is? Net sheet is basically an estimate of, this is, if you take this offer, this is approximately what you'll net. You should do that on with every seller that you have so that they have understanding. You told me I'd make $30,000. Why am I making 6? Oops. You know, you should let them know what they're making. If you're on a buy.
The only reason you want to know what they owe is if I might have to bring money in closing.
That, but say they have to go somewhere else and you're going to represent them on a buy. So you're going to list their house in Louisville. They're going to move to Frisco. You know, they want to buy a $500,000 house in Frisco. Love it. Great. Can you afford it? Because you lose and you won't get any referrals if you sell their house and then they're like, then they can't buy because now they're living with you, you know, or you give them a nice box and say, hey, I'll see you when you get your credit fixed. You know, whatever it is, that doesn't get you a referral. But you want to know, hey, what are you going to net? Because if they're going to buy a house in Frisco and they say, hey, I want to put 20% down. Great. Are you going to net $100,000 on the sale? You're making $10,000. Great. Where's your 90,000? You know? Okay. And then it's all these other conversations. Do we need to put 20% down? Yada, yada. Right. But for the seller, you should know the property, the condition, and what they want. So that when each of you calls me and says, hey, does your client need a lease? Totally to Suresh's point. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Why? I know my client. I know what she wants. On the buy side, you know, you're not going to take someone out and show them one house in Highland Park and one house in South Dallas by Fair Park and say, which one do you like? Because they're not remotely similar. You know, we want to know, do you want 1-story or 2-story pool? These things, right? You qualify your buyer so that when you go with them to a house that they like, you know, you're not showing them at the top of their budget in a multiple offers bid, for example, and then they can't afford it. Why? Now you're in trouble. Why did you show me this house I can't buy? Right? So you want to know, what can they do? You want to have them qualified with a lender up front. You want to know about their financing. You know, you want to know about their down payment. In that earlier situation, this guy is paying 20K over. I should know up front, does my buyer have money to pay over? Or does my buyer need closing costs? Do I need assistance? Right? You have to know all of those things to structure the offer. Does that make sense to everybody at home? Yes? Good. Let's see. Where am I? Yes. I would say, the question is, if someone comes to you and they have bad credit, can you ask them? My question is, sure, yeah, let's talk about it. How would you rate your credit? Good, bad, or too scary to ask? You know, and if you say it's too scary to ask, at that point, I'm going to say, well, you should call Donna. You know, she's our in-house lender. I love Donna. If you haven't used Donna, you should go and meet her. She's super fast and great and wonderful. But say, hey, I got this person whose credit is in the too scary to ask category. She'll laugh, she'll call them, and then she'll call you and tell you what she can do. You know? Well, but where are they getting that information? Credit Karma, right? Online. That is absolutely not what Donna looks at. You know, 9 times out of 10, those scores are 20, 40 points inflated over what the mortgage company wants. So the best answer is, before you put them in the car, get them qualified with Donna. And if you can't get that done, you know, like that's maybe a waste of time to get them.
I don't necessarily want to know that. I like Donna to know all that. I like to get them to Donna, so I don't have to. Like, I don't know. I've been doing this 12 years. I can kind of pre-qualify you. I don't know, man. When you go into Donna, exactly like he said, you tell me your score is 640 because you pulled it up on Equifax. He pulls it on the actual credit union and it's 600. Now everything changes. So even when they try to give me that information, I'm like, let's get you in with a professional. She can help answer those. What do I pay this off? I don't know. I'm not a credit repair specialist. Let's get you in with the pros.
Absolutely. Stay in your lane. You are the realtor. You know everything about buying and selling homes. You are not the mortgage lender. So don't promise them rates. Don't do any of those things. And it's okay to say you don't know. You know, if you're the buyer's agent, you come to my house and you look and that house looks great. Do you know if it's had foundation work? Can you assume that it has or hasn't? No. You can ask. That's not a bad question. I might not know as a listing agent. You know, there's never a bad and stupid question. And let your clients know that. But there are things that you need to be able to say, I don't know. Like, you should talk to your accountant about that. You should hire a lawyer for that. You know, like, we are not those people. We buy and sell houses. Yes. And so that's kind of what we're getting into, is kind of how do we do it? So to Hunter's point, hey, Hunter, can you role play with me for a minute? So will you be the listing agent? You got it. All right. So what I want to do is exactly your question. I want to give context to my client. Why? Because that'll make me a hero and it sets expectations. So ring, ring. Hey, Hunter, Brian Davis at Keller Williams. How's your day? Hey, it is tremendous. I see you got this fancy pants listing on Bluebonnet and my client likes it. Are y'all working any offers on that? That's sweet. Okay, so now I know, let me stop here. So he's told me, I know that it's competitive. I know the deadline. I've got till Friday, so I don't have to like drop everything and run and do it right now. But he's given me information. Great. So, all right, cool, Hunter. Well, hey, I got a buyer. We are underwritten approved. We are ready to go. I've got him with my preferred lender. What does your client need in terms of closing time? So like 30 days, or you want 45?
You know, we can do quick, close in 20 days, anything after that.
My lender's sweet, I can do that. Would it help you if you had a seller's lease? Cool. So man, you know, we're in the game of winning. What else is important to your client? How can I win this deal for you?
So they're hoping not to have to do many repairs, but it is what it is. So yeah, really just a clean offer.
Awesome. So from that, what did I get? You know, like, what did I get? You know, I told him, hey, my client is pre-approved. They're with my lender. These are things that he is putting in the back of his mind, you know, because what I would wonder is how many agents have called Hunter? How many agents have buddied up to Hunter, right? Because he'll remember me. Oh, you're the guy that had the approved buyer, right? You know, rather than several of the agents that are just going to send him an offer and not, they're going to be ambiguous. Offer A, offer B, offer C, he's not going to distinguish between them. Oh man, that's 90%.
There's an offer that's been there's some 630. Why would you not? I send a text.
Oh my
"What are you
gosh.
offering?" And then I send a text right after for confirmation.
Yeah,
And then I screenshot it and send it out to my client so that I can show my client, hey, they've accepted our offer. You get named.
absolutely.
Then they call 3 days later and go, just want to see if our offer.
What? Yeah, absolutely. But the call, that to me as a listing agent, that matters. If you called me, you called me, you called me, you called me, I would know all of you. You know, now whoever makes me the best offer, we'll see. But if you called me and none of you do, well, even if your offer is not the best, I would at least know. And when I'm talking to my seller, this lady called me. This lady I had this conversation with. You know, as the realtor, you know, I'm advising my client. I suggest maybe we give this lady a crack at it because she was the most professional. She didn't have the best offer, but I hold the ball. So I can throw her the ball and say, hey, your offer was terrible, but I like you. You know, can you get the deal done? And I tell you what, man, like I've won so many deals not being the highest offer, you know, but just by having these dialogues. But another thing, he told me timing. So I know, hey, quick close. So to your point, you know, why write this for a 30-day close? I asked him, do you want 30? Do you want 45? He said 20. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, if you want to buy this house, we're going to have to put on our hustling shoes. Are you ready for this? All right, you want to win this deal?
Yeah.
All right, you got to close it in 25 days or 20 days, whatever it is. All right, you know, but everybody else that didn't call him, they're sending a 30-day offer with a 10-day option for $100, and I couldn't even be more bored, you know. But I'm going to ask, hey, I got 5 offers, you know. We need to have better this, better this, better this, right? But that to me is the trick, is to find out what they have, what they know, talk to them. And you'll be surprised. Like I said, agents will call you, maybe not on a multiple offer bid. Maybe you've got one that's 200 days on market. You know, I call him, I'm like, Henry, how's that house on Coit Road? He's like, oh my God, it won't go away. What? You know, and just, I talk a lot, but I learned really quick, shut up. Because if he's talking and he's on a roll, you know, I'm just going to make all these notes, you know. Hunter, you've had 19 offers and all of them were 50,000 under list. Oh, okay. So, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we probably shouldn't go 50,000 under list. You want to go 45? Is she going to love me since I saved her $45,000? Yes. Would she be mad at me if she lost the deal because she tried to save 50? Yes. But this way I can set that expectation. Always talk to the listener.
Once they get on the roll, and giving you more information. Just keep improving that. Oh, yeah.
Yep. This is neat. Page 14. This is everything we're talking about.
Let me ask,
Yes, sir.
top of your head, what percent of your buyers on their offers are fully ready for financing?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Fully financed, ready to go.
Well, there's not any really fully financed unless it's cash, because you still have to have an appraisal, you still have to have things like that. But you can do, there's a difference. There's pre-qualified. That means a loan officer spoke with you and typed your name into a computer. Pre-approved means that they have looked at your stuff in person. They know that you didn't commit tax fraud. They know that you have a job. They know how much you have in savings. And they know that you're married, divorced, single, green, blue, up and down, whatever it is. But they put you in and they know. Underwritten approved is understated and it is the best. It's the highest quality. There's some lenders that'll do that. What that means is the buyer turns in everything. The underwriter looks at it. They come back out, they bless it, they say you're good. I love that buyer because I'm like that. I have been underwritten. There is no issue. My buyers, I mean, I'd say 75% because I make them do it. Why? Because I'm tired. I don't like to lose. You know?
When I present the offer, I'll call Brian and say, hey, Brian, my client's already got the underwriting. We're literally just waiting for the app to put on the
Yep. And
We got the
boy,
money. We just need a house to use it.
as a listing agent, do I love that? Lori calls me up, Brian, hey, we're going to send you this offer. Brian, I sent you that offer. I'm going to have Hunter, my loan officer, give you a call. Hunter calls me. Whether or not I'm thrilled at all by her offer, do I know Lori? Do I know any of you? Anybody at home? I don't know any of y'all, you know, but I know Lori because she's blowing me up. Squeaky wheel, right? And that lender, I mean, I tell you, multiple bids, we've had quite a few of them this year on listings. I'd say 1 out of 10 or plus more offers, 1 agent will call me, 1 lender will call me. 1. Do I love them? Yes, I do. Yep. Page 14.
Will make that call.
Oh, yeah.
Any lender I use has to be willing to follow the listing.
Absolutely. It is my requirement. You know, we're going to do business. This is what I got to do. If you can't get them with a lender that you trust, and to James Stan's point, give them choices. Don't make them do it.
So you make an offer, you call Donna and tell her you made an offer, and she makes an additional call.
Boy, howdy. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Donna, hey, it's Brian. I'm making an offer for Hunter. We're buying this house on Blue Bonnet. Would you call the listing agent, Lori? Here's her number. I'd be glad to do it. Thank you. Then she'll call me back. I just had the nicest talk with Lori. She's so great. She's got 18 offers and she likes you. Sure, but Donna, right? You can sell the lender better than you can sell yourself, you know, to that listing agent. But that lender, they're going to make or break you, you know? So having those good partnerships, Donna knows what I expect and she knows what I want. You know, when I call her and say, hey, I'm making an offer for your buyer, she's going to want to win it too. She's going to do everything she needs to do to make me look the best, right? 100% agree. Page 14. This is interesting stuff. I'm just going to read this just because it kind of highlights what we said. But this is your strategy. This is how you're negotiating, right? Call the other agent. Talk about that. Pay attention to nonverbal cues. That's great because you can't see them, but you can hear the sighs or the elation. Keep quiet once you make that offer and make that initial inquiry. Let them tell you the gossip. Listen carefully to what's important. Stay calm and relaxed. That's really important. We'll come back to that here in a minute. Focus on your customers' needs. This is what we can do. This is what we can't do. This is how we're the best for you. And give your offer the best chance. Help your clients to know what the answer is. Here's an example. Say you have a listing. You have 10 offers on your listing. And Lori is my buyer. Price is $300. I say, Lori, hey, I know you love this house. Here are the comps. You know, I find the house is priced really well. There's 10 other offers on the property. What would you like to offer? And she says, go in at $275. Stop. Does Lori's offer have a chance of winning? It could. I mean, it could. But everybody's shaking their head no. Statistically, it's unlikely. Why? Because there's 10 offers. Mrs. Buyer, do you think that all offers are less than yours? You know, ask these questions. Because I can't tell her, that's the lamest offer I've ever heard. Are you stupid? You know, like I can't say that. You know? So, Mrs. Buyer, do you understand there's 10 offers? Do you think they're all less than yours? Ask her these questions. You know, I've told people before, and again, set this expectation. Ma'am, your offer has 0 probability of winning. Are you happy with that? You should, people's faces show you stuff. If she's smiling going, okay, all right, you know, I don't know what to do. I might have to refer you to Hunter, you know, but okay. But I want to set that expectation. Ma'am, do you realize trees have died for you and we're printing this up and this is needless wasting, killing the environment by signing this offer that'll never win? I can say that with a smile, you know? And she says, yeah. But 9 out of 10 times she's like, really, what? No, my uncle in California told me to make that offer. Well, okay, but here's what we really need to know. But we're setting this expectation, right? I need to learn my client. I need to know what she's doing, right? I need to understand her perspective. Well, I always lowball it. Well, yes, but this isn't California. This isn't 1980 and you're not your uncle, right? This is the world we're in. Help set that expectation. Does that make sense? How are we doing on time? It's 10. Y'all need a quick little break? I do because I'm thirsty. I'm going to run over and grab my cup and I'll be right back. Okay? Discuss.
Does a pre-qual require a hard hit?
Yeah. It will. What that happens is it will open up. Donna can answer more specifically. It basically opens up their credit. And so for it's like 7 days, they kind of can go out and speak with multiple lenders without it. It's only going to hit them once. It allows you to kind of go out and shop for a better rate or for approval from another lender.
Okay, wait, say that again. So if somebody.
Once I call Donna, my client gets it open, that will be a hard hit. But at that point, they have about, I think it's like 7 days to go out. They can speak to other lenders and it won't hit them again.
So like if they pull their credit or whatever, so you can tell your client, hey, this is who I would suggest, you can start with her, and if you want to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I would suggest, hey, go talk to a second, third, make sure you're getting the best rate, the best deal.
Okay.
But yeah, there's something to be said when they, and the reason why I like them working with my preferred lender is I have an idea of kind of what kind of service you provide. Like I said, I know she'll get on the phone and make that phone call for me. She'll stay in communication with me, and those are kind of the three things I'm really looking for in a lender. I want that communication. Look, if something's going wrong, that happens. I need to know. The quicker I know about it, the quicker I can let the other side know. You know, nothing sucks worse when the other side calls you the last day of financing and tells you, hey, it's not going to fall through. If a good agent will call me 7 days in advance and say, hey, man, we're struggling, just giving you a heads up. They're in underwriting right now. We're having a few issues. They're trying to do employment verification. Something didn't pop right. So communication, like he said, that ultimately is the biggest thing you can do. Is communicate with the other side. Make sure even when it's not good news, that you're delivering it.
I got my cup and now I can hydrate, and I found Donna. So this is Donna with Highlands Mortgage, and I wanted y'all to meet her because she is an integral part of everything that you do on the buy side and on the seller side. If I have a listing, Lori makes an offer and she's working with Donna, I know I can trust that that buyer is going to close. If Donna is representing my buyer, I know she's going to do everything she needs to do to get the deal done. But just say hi.
Hi, I'm Donna. I said, kind of, if you walk out the door across the bathroom hall and into that next door, my office is right there. So anytime you guys have questions or need anything, I'm always over there. From like 9 to 5 at least every day. And after hours, you can always get me by text or call or, you know, whatever you need. It is important that the lender is communicating. I try and always communicate not only with the buyer's agent, but also the seller's agent. I know I have several agents when they make an offer, especially when they're in multiple offer situations, when they send the contract to the seller's agent, they'll copy me on it and say, hey, I've copied my lender, Donna, on here in case you have any questions. I can usually get back to that and say, hey, just want you to know you have a great buyer here. I've already got all their documentation so they can feel comfortable with the offer for one thing. And then if they have further questions, they can call me and ask those. And I give them whatever assurance that they need to help make your offer stronger.
You keep your leverage or sell them off?
Both. Since COVID started, I think we've kept like 90%. Prior to that, we were probably somewhere between 50 and 70%. I don't know going out of COVID if it'll continue that we keep them all or if they'll still sell. Some of them, especially if they're a bond loan, we can't keep those. Nobody can. They've got to go to the master servicer on those. VA loans, typically we don't keep. At FHA and conventional, we keep a good portion of what we do.
Question. If y'all haven't had a chance, you know, like I do encourage you after the class or one day this week, just drop by our office, give her your card, say hello. You know, one of the most important things that you can do in your business is align yourself with people that can help make you look good and help make your clients happy. You know, and this is one of my favorite people. So get to know her. And everybody at home too, you know, like we can find a way to give you her contact info, but all y'all should reach out to Donna. Like if you don't have a lender that you love, let me give you one because this is one of the best in the industry.
Yes, like I said, I didn't know there was others there. Anytime you guys need anything, I'm here. You can stop by, call me, text me, email me, whatever's easiest for you. A long time. Since 2008.
Oh, man. That's something. You've been with a different company at one point. The company switched over. We didn't keep the company. We kept it on.
Yes, that is correct.
So that's a tough. And I don't necessarily care the name of the company. I care about the lender. And so that's what makes the difference.
And going back to what Brian said earlier, I mean, we don't pre-qualify things that we don't close. And if he knows if there's a problem or if I'm running into a holdup with an appraisal or anything, he's the first one that's going to know about that. Because everything's not going to always go 100% seamlessly. We wish it would, but every now and then it just can't. And I'm going to let you know upfront in a timely manner. I don't mind communicating with the seller's agent what's going on, but it's just important to get that information out there as quickly as possible so that people can set their expectations according to that. I tell them, you as the agent should not have their financial credit information. So unless they share the information with you, you don't want to say anything. It's up to me to communicate with them. Hey, you don't qualify. Here's why. Here's a couple of things you could do maybe to get your credit score or whatever it is where it needs to be. If their credit score is such that they've worked long and hard to get where they are, I probably would turn them at that point over to a credit repair company, just because I can give them a couple of things that would get their score up, but probably not up to where they need to be. If their score's in the 400s, they worked to get there, they're not coming out of that overnight.
Yeah, and the cool thing is too, you know, like she's gonna tell them that, she'll tell you, so you have context. Okay, now I know why the buyer's not doing it. But she works with us, like she's my partner, you know, so she's gonna say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, hey, it's been 3 months, I see your credit's better. You know, like, I'm gonna have Brian give you a call today, and then she's gonna call me, hey, Lori's ready to go, we've got her credit fixed. So now I call Lori and I pick it right back up where we were, you know? But this way, I don't lose the lead, I don't forget about it. You know, she's watching it for me, she'll call me, bring me back. It's the same thing, I brought her into the deal, she's bringing me back, you know, but that's how you play off with partners. That works so well.
What's the, I'm sorry, I probably already know this. What's the difference between underwritten approved and just pre-qualified?
So there's a couple of differences. Pre-qualified, they filled out the application, pulled their credit. Based on that information, we're giving you a pre-qualification letter. We don't have their documentation.
Okay.
Once they give us the documentation, I can run it through an automated underwriting engine. I can go through the documentation and make sure that everything is as it is in the application. You'd be surprised at how many people don't really know how much they make. So at that point, I can give you a pre-approval. Now, getting it in front of an actual underwriter, in slower times, we might be able to do that before you're going to make offers on property, or if it's just a really shaky thing and I'm like, I'm just not sure. I want an underwriter to look at this before you go find a property. I might be able to. Right now, getting it in front of an underwriter without having a contract is a little bit difficult. And it's not that we don't want to, it's just because of the magnitude of loans coming in right now between the purchases and the refinances. Our underwriters are working probably 14 to 16 hours a day, including weekends right now. So to put something in front of them that's not closing and not urgent, it's a little bit difficult.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll go see her after class. all
Bye
right?
anytime. I'm almost always there.
right.
Thank you, guys.
So yeah, lender is an asset. Let's talk about a couple other things. Just a couple common points of negotiation. One thing that I'd like to recommend to all of y'all, especially you guys at home, when you get past your first year of licensing and you go into the 2 years of MCE, which I have the joy of taking every 2 years, and you will too. I recommend all of you research and get your Certified Negotiation Expert designation. It's a CNE. I have it. It's awesome. Last I checked, less than 2% of Texas realtors had their CNE designation. Why do I care? According to NAR, that is the most important thing that buyers and sellers are looking for in a realtor, is their ability to negotiate. And I can go up to on an appointment as a listing or a buyer's agent appointment and say, I have this designation that 98% of other agents don't have. Hire me. And I win. So I would get all of y'all, you know, when your license is up and you can take those classes for renewal, that designation is awesome. It's you pay for the course, you don't pay for renewals. Super awesome. Yeah, I guess that's true too.
You take SAE, which is a different kind of education than the CE, because you have the full 90, I think it's 90 hours. So you don't take that, but if you wanted that designation, you can go get it today. It just will not count towards your credit hours for your renewal.
In my opinion, Brian Astrict, one of the smart things you can do. People understand negotiations. They want to see that as part of your tagline. The other thing is, you know, like this is a negotiate the deal class. So it's not necessarily all about getting a contract accepted. There's so many other points that we're negotiating. If you were the seller, a seller's agent, what's one of the most important things that you have to negotiate for? Well, say you're on a listing appointment. To be the seller's agent, what are you negotiating for? Bingo. And if you, who's been on a listing appointment before? Anybody? When you go, sometimes you're the only one. If it's grandma's house, you better get grandma's deal, right? But if you're going on that one that's down the street, they might be interviewing other agents. And they might have interviewed an agent that was like, hey, I'll do it for free. I'll do it for nothing. That agent is terrible. I judge them. But you shouldn't do that for free. So part of what we want to know is how to negotiate, right? On your best interest, right? You think about things that are personal. You know, like, I'll bring it back to my kids. Would I let them have gummy bears and Fruit Loops for dinner? Well, maybe if my wife wasn't home. But normally, no. Like, that, no matter what they tell me, the answer is no, broccoli and Brussels sprouts, right? That is a hard, fast thing. You know, I can't throw them out or whatever. Nope, if you don't eat the broccoli, well, I guess I could, you know, like you can't have any toys or whatever until you eat broccoli. But from a listing standpoint, like, I'm not going to give it away. You know, I'm going to get my commission. But how do I show you, the principal, the seller, that I'm worth it when the dude over there is going to do it for half price? You know, you need to be able to have those scripts in your arsenal to show them. The one thing I would tell you is one of my favorite lines are, and you're welcome to this, if somebody says, is your commission negotiable? You say, absolutely it is. I offer a 6%, 7%, or 8% program. Which would you like? You know, I'm happy with 6, you know, but they're like, wait, what? But it's funny in the sense that people don't expect you to say something really ridiculous. And at that point, what's the best answer? 6, sign here, you know? The other thing that I like to do when I negotiate is, you know, it's this kind of what we were talking about with learning. Tell me more, you know? So, you know, will you take less? Well, let's discuss that. Why do you think I should take less? You know, if I put the conversation back on you, then you have to give me a reason to justify what your ask, right? But we're still negotiating. Well, everybody else does. Yes, ma'am. Well, if everybody else jumped off a bridge, would you too jump off a bridge too? You know, like, I can say those things without being rude and still come back and say, 6%. One little Brian trick on a listing appointment, I find this works every time, 100% without fail, never fails. Rule number 1 behind the plan, whoever speaks first loses, right? So if you say, will you take less? And I say, no, ma'am. It's kind of awkward, you know? And if I say, but, I just lost, I give up. But if I say, no, ma'am. And I look at her, she's gonna be like crawling out of her skin. So the ball's in her court. Well, then what, you know? I've never ever had someone say, get out. You know, I've had someone say, are you sure? Yes, ma'am. You know, but stop talking. Whoever speaks first loses, right? Back end thing, get yourself a nice pen. It worked well for me because I'm a dude, so I just carry my little pen right here. I do not carry my glasses, whichever. But I always have one pen. And I always use my pen to tap. And so I'm a paper person. Hopefully y'all like paper too. Laura, hey, here's our listing agreement. We're going to go over blah, 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 blah. Sign here. I've given her a pen. It's not as nice as my pen because my pen is the dominant pen, right? But I've given her a pen, or she has her own pen. Sign here. And I point. So she'll initial, she'll sign. When it comes to the commissions, it's just part of it. It's in the listing agreement. Commissions are 6% earned and payable at closing. Go ahead and initial here. I have led her with my pen visually. She's going down the page. She's seen it. And this is an authoritative move. I am directing her to sign. I haven't held a gun to her head, didn't beat her up, but I gave her a task. No, it always works. The only time that someone stalled with that, I sat there and I smiled and I kept tapping the pen. And finally I said something like, would you like to use my pen? And he's like, oh, the hell with it. And he signed it. I was like, yay. But just on the listing, you remember, you're in the box. You get to make the decision. Do I want to take your deal? Do I want to deal with you through this experience? Because you're going to work for it. Do I want your deal? If I do, I want it on my terms. Why? You're the professional. You can't walk into your dentist and say, hey, I need braces and I need all my cavities filled, and I'll give you this shiny $20 bill. They're going to be like, what? Like, no Novocaine for you, you know? But you know what I mean? Like, you can't walk into Kroger and be like, hey, so I want this 12-pack of beer, I'll give you $5. They're going to be like,
How about the rest of it? You know, unless it's like natty light, and then they're like, yeah, just keep the change. Make sense? Brings me to a couple things. So when you're negotiating, there's usually 3 types of negotiators. And the way that they do it, the style. KW defines it as the hot potato, the good guy, the bad guy, that's like good cop, bad cop, and then the nibblers. Nibblers are fun. You'll see them in contracts, and they're like the people that always want the last word, right? Okay, so we got this price. Hey, can you throw in the fridge? Can you throw in the microwave? Can I have the pool cubes? Can I just have a floaty? You know, like they're going to ask you for everything. They're going to drive you up a wall because they're never happy. They always want something else. You have to get ahead of them and say, and now we have concluded what we're doing, you know, but you have to get ahead of them. Otherwise, they're going to keep asking. You know, you got the good cop, bad cop, which is that agent that, you know, will say, well, I'm just so sorry. My seller wants this and this and this. You can tell when it's the seller and when it's the agent, but they blame the other person. Why? You can't get mad at me. It's my client. Oh, they're just so horrible. You know, but you need to know how to get around that. Man, we need to control your client. On page 16 or 19, maybe, I think it's 19. It's got a couple counter tactics up here that kind of show it. The other one is kind of the hot potato, and that's where you're very aggressive and you throw a whole bunch of things at somebody all at one time. You know, where it's all like, hey, so we'll give you the price, but we're going to change the date. And if we change the date, I have to change the title company. When we change the title company, I need a Corvette. What? You know, I don't even understand what's going on. You know? Yeah, like it's those smooth talker guys. You know, you have to know who you're fighting to just say dismount, right? It's like you think about like military tactics. You know, like they figure out, here, this is where the soldiers are. This is where we're going to go. This is how we beat the bad guys, right? They don't just walk in there and be like, oh, hey, oh, you have a gun. Oh, probably shouldn't have showed up with this can of muffins. You know, like, gonna get shot. But if you know your sellers, you know your buyers, you know the other agent, you know how they behave, you can get to the psychology behind them. You win every time. Questions on that? Yay. All right, last section that we want to talk about is on page 21. These are our 3 P's of negotiation, right? This is preparing, presenting, and knowing your position. We can go through these pretty quick. We talked a lot about the preparation. To summarize what we've learned today, tell me, what are some things that we would do to prepare to write an offer? I know you have an answer. You look like you're full of answers. Bingo. Yes, what else can we do? Know your buyer?
Know your market.
Know your market. Know your comps. Very good. She's writing things down, so I won't pick up. But yeah, get prepared. Set those expectations. Know what you're walking into. Don't walk into the gunfight with a can of muffins, because that was the first thing I thought of. Like, know how to win, right? The second thing is to present it. You know, if you're the buyer, just like Hunter said, you know, we're going to call, we're going to talk to that listing agent. You know, we're going to set that expectation with our client. Your offer is good, your offer is terrible. If you're the listing agent, you know, you want to present the property in the best price, or best fashion, right? Best condition, best price. You want to set these expectations up front. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we price it here. You're going to, you know, your day on market is 10. You price it where you want to be, your day on market is 90. Which would you rather do? You know, help them understand the world that we live in. The last thing is the position, and it's to know kind of what your place is. So if you're that seller at 90 days on market, and your client says, I refuse to discount $1, is that seller playing in reality? No. You know, if your seller says, I'm not going to sell it to somebody from a foreign country, is that person playing in reality? No. Do you have an obligation to fix that problem? You absolutely do. Fair housing, you can't discriminate. And I have one right now that I'm probably going to have to let go because he will not sell it to somebody that's not white. And we have had lots of problems with this. And I tell him, man, I don't know who they are or what they do. All I know is they have money. I don't care. You can't care either. You know, I had to have my last conversation with him about it the other day. I said, man, it's not worth me losing my license. You know, if she wants to buy the house and she's qualified, I'm going to sell her that house. I don't care what she is. Doesn't matter. That brings it back to that letter. You know, and Suresh mentioned that. That's a very good thing because it kind of helps you to better your position on a buy side. And I like his angle about it being human, you know, like help me see you for you. I want to see that. The one thing I would just caution you all to do, I love the letter, you should do it. Make it human, make it right. Don't do it with pictures. You know, if you want to send a cute picture of the dog, I love the dog. You know, if you want to send a picture of, welcome to Ashley Elementary School banner. Hey, my kids go to the school. Great. I don't want to see people. Don't do that. I've had a lot of agents recently discard the letters because they don't want to violate a fair housing thing by saying that you're a white person and that you're not. Yeah. It will get you. So summary, I love the letter. Tell me all about you. Tell me about your dog, your cat, grandma, whatever. Let me see you as a human. I love you. But help your clients to understand the purpose of this is to make you human, but we don't need to be too human. Kind of like on a listing, you have them take down all the pictures. Why? Because I want them to see the house, not your pictures. I want them to feel like it's them in their house, not in my house, right? So this is a side note. Do that to yourself. You'll go a little bit further if you help them do that. Here's an example. I had a lady that wrote a letter one time, multiple offers. She handed it to me. It was godforsaken awful with grammatical errors, spelling errors. My dad's an English teacher, so like that stuff makes my head explode. And I submitted it because that was who she was. She was not the smartest girl. She was a little bit of a challenge case. The seller was a teacher and said, I know this person. Now she didn't know her, but I know this person and I want to give her an opportunity. But because we were able to understand who my client was, it spoke to her heart and she picked us. And again, we probably weren't the best offer, but we were the most clear and convincing serious buyer. And there is value that cannot be assigned a number that, in terms of motivation and being serious, right? Because I can sell my house to you for 20,000 over. If your buyer made 3 other offers same day, maybe I don't want you to hang out anyway. I want the one that maybe is going to give me what I want, but I know is going to close. Or the one with the fantastic earnest money and the perfect contract. Does that make sense? Questions on that? I didn't mean to have it as a hard conversation, but just as a, for your better benefit. Thoughts? Cool. So we've got a little bit of time left. I usually try and end these classes a little early so that we can talk about anything that you want. This can be over anything real estate. It can be farming, prospecting, anything you can think of, contracts. We can talk more about this material. We can role play it if you wish. But the last 30 minutes of the class, I always like to give back to you and say, how do you want it to be? Anything on your mind? Let's talk. You've got 30 minutes and I'm all for you. Yes?
It's like when you're getting approved and stuff, is it normal to have them go through multiple houses at the same time?
What was the thing?
Is it normal to get approved for multiple houses at the same time?
No, it's not per house. It's usually $1. But so they'll say, okay, you're approved for 250,000. Great. That tells me what I need to know. Do I need to show her $500,000 houses? No. I know what my price is. If you work it with Donna, she'll tell me things too, like this buyer may need assistance from the seller. So I know how to work a deal, right? It is property specific in the sense of, let's say you have a VA buyer, right? VA, FHA buyers, your government-backed buyers, those loans are kind of a higher test of property condition. So one thing that would ruin a deal would be based on condition, like say wood rot, roof repair, foundation repair. Those buyers can't buy properties that are in a distressed scenario. So not as a blanket statement, but as a kind of a thought. When you see properties that say as is, or foreclosure or something like that, where no repairs will be made, an FHA or a VA buyer may not be able to ultimately qualify for that home because the condition is subpar. Did that answer your question?
Kind of. So like, if someone's like looking at like 3 different houses, they would just get approved on the house, but it wouldn't be the 3 houses. Based on one house.
You're getting approved based on a real financial situation. So if I were your letter and I say I qualify for 300,000, it's not the house. I qualify to take a loan out for 300,000.
Yeah. So these three houses are under 300, you can buy them. They're all over, can't have them.
But then it starts over, like, you kind of, for a higher amount.
No, I mean, the number's the number, you know, like you can buy up to 300. You can call Donna and say, hey, Lori wants to go to 325. Can I get Lori to 325? Well, she'll come back and tell you yes or no, you know? But if you say, hey, I found one on Main Street, one on Elm Street, and one on Oak Street, Donna doesn't care which one you buy, as long as it's in the price and the condition matches the loan. Yeah, and she'll usually have that conversation with the buyer first, you know? And a lot of times people can buy more than what they want, you know? So she says, hey, I want to keep my payment at, $1,500 a month. Okay, well, that's not 300,000. You know, she could buy 300, but her payment at 1,500 a month, that's probably 200,000, you know? But Donna will help set that up, and then she'll call you and say, hey, Lori can buy 300, but she wants her budget to be here. Don't show her things more than 220, you know? Why? Because then she's going to want to see everything at 300 and get it for 220. Good question. Yes, sir.
You can go back to your first year of real estate and do something different from what you do.
Oh my gosh, very good question. So I started in 2008 and the market was like, it was awful. It was hard. I think the thing that I would have done better, Hunter, is I would have put my database in a system, like we didn't have command, but I would have done it better than bar napkins and post-it notes. Because my database lived in a box on notes. And I still now, even to this day, am catching up from that, you know. 94%. My maps coach beats me up.
Remember when I told you guys yesterday to go to Gary's Top 100 and you asked them their numbers, even after a night on Sixth Street, most of them will know it.
Yep.
That's how you become a mega agent.
Yeah.
So it's a business to Brian. It's not, he doesn't wake up every day. And actually, I've watched him lead generate now for this office for 8 years. Back when you're down towards the Lindsay's office,
Yeah.
you come in, you have your skull folder.
Yep.
His admin will leave out his name. He's a pager, so you'll see Brian, but it's every day. He's consistent. He treats this like a business, and I've been fun to watch your business grow.
Yeah, we were up 40% this year. We'll close 93 deals. And that's me, 2 admins, and us showing. 94% of it's Sphere. Last year we did, gosh, what did we do, Hunter? We did, I think, 17 million and 61 transactions. This year we'll do 93 and just over 20 million. Kind of fun. But yeah, but that's a good question. You know, like the most important thing you can do is find, like add people to your database. I know it sounds like this awful thing, but it's so much easier when you don't think about it as like a chore, because there's so many people that like just get the message, just get their contact stuff, and find a way to like be comfy in the skin you're in, but find a way to do it. When I started out in 2008, I had no money, we were living on my wife's teacher's salary. So you can imagine what a fancy life we were living on a teacher's salary. I would like walk to the post office because I didn't have the money for gas. It was bad. But the one thing I did was, and I started before we had kids, I was in my 20s still. And we had parties because that was what we did, and all our friends would come over. And because you're my friend, you're my friend, you're my friend, you're my friend. Like I can talk to you differently, right? And we did things like, hey, like you want a beer? It's going to cost you, and we made it cheesy, but it was like Brian's lead jar, and my wife would be like, well, shut up. It's going to cost you lead, but it was fun because as we're friends, we've been through lots of things together, like you're not going to be offended if I'm like, hey, so, do you know anybody? Because she cares about me. We're friends. We knew each other from college, but that's how I did it. Like my biggest marketing investment, beer. Yep.
First round was on me. I to see those cards, go in your wallet. One's for you, one's to give out to a referral.
Brilliant. One of my
They
assistants.
laugh, they make fun of me that night, and inevitably, within a week, I get a text message or a Facebook, typically not from one of the guys, but from one of their wives, saying, hey, my husband brought your card home.
Yep.
We're looking to sell and buy in the next 6 months.
Hands down. My assistant Cassie, she did kickball actually before COVID. She had her best year ever this year in COVID with no kickball. And all she did was, touch on her people. Like, man, I wish we could have some kickball. But yeah, she's like, yeah, I'd bring a pitcher of beer or whatever. We play, because they drink and play kickball, I guess, which sounds fun, but also confusing to me.
Sometimes we drink at second base.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I should play this.
Second base, you can't go to third base.
I feel like I should play this game. But you know what? Like, that's her thing because she's got kickball buddies. I'm a realtor. They say don't be a secret agent. She's like, hey, I'm Cassie. I sell real estate and I'm also a badass kicker. Who wants a beer? Who's got a lead? Find the way to make it feel good for you. You got a group of friends and y'all do X, Y, Z. Do it. You got some friends and you go do this. Do it. Great. Let people know. And it's one thing I'll tell you. My best line from one of my previous team leaders. Her name was Ann. She always had this great question. She'd walk up to you randomly in the market center. This was her one thing, whether she beat you up or not. How's the market? And she'd sneak up on you too. Hey, Lori, how's the market? If you could say anything except good, and that was her answer. You cannot tell me the market's good. She would just deflate and be a mess. She would be like, no, you can't say good, you can't say bad. You have to say something. So how's the market? Oh, and it's great because ... Tell me one smart thing. But if you internalize 2 or 3 smart things, and someone says, oh, how's the market? And you just say, it's great because you are now the expert. I realize everybody in life is 2 things. They're a realtor and they're an author, because those are the 2 easiest things in the world to do, right? So says everybody that's not a realtor or an author, but people love houses. They love thinking this. They think that you drive around all day in a Rolls Royce, and look at pretty houses. But what you do is really all this other stuff. Have an answer. How's the market? It's better than good. Tell me something smart. That's my trick. One of the things, we got about 20 minutes. Because I can drink a lot of beer. No, but there's lots of good things. So for example, you can partner with a title company. There's RESPA rules and Regulation Z and all of these things. But you can partner with them, and they've got all these resources where you can get. There used to be this program or whatever where you could target a neighborhood and see who's owned their house this long and has this mortgage balance and is this age. Like, you can do demographic data, and they can help you get that so that you farm smart. You can get door hangers. Like, when my daughter was a baby, I had one of these front pack thingies that was awesome. And I put her in the front pack and we'd go hang door hangers, and one day I got 3 listings on one street because they were like, any dude that's man enough to put a baby in their front pack and carry it around, I'm hiring him. And it was great because they were like, oh, right there on the same street. So I was like, yes, 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 and nobody's going to yell at the guy with the baby, like, what are you, a monster, because she can scream louder than you can, but like, I did that. When they got older, I put them in a wagon, and I schlepp them up and down the street, but no one's going to yell at me, the dude. And I think that's different for men and women, like, hey, a guy approaching the door, that could be weird, right? Well, here, I got a cart full of babies out on the sidewalk. You want one of them or you want to sell your house? I'm not here to monkey. But those kind of things, like, my tip to you, if you haven't gotten it already, you'll get 1 million solicitations for buy this shiny object. We've got leads that we need to give to you, blah, blah, blah. It's all garbage. Discard all that crap. Do what's you. Find a way to engage your sphere in a way that is coming from contribution, that has market information, but that is based in you. Your friends like you because of you. They don't like you because you pretend to be someone else. They like you. You happen to be a realtor. That's it. That's the trick. Good question. Has this been relevant for y'all? Has this been good?
Please let me ask all the questions about the.
If you go to an open house and, well, I mean, you can ask the listing agent if they're there, you know? I would, you know, I mean, I'm not afraid of the phone. But if I'm there and the listing agent is there, you know, if I walk into Andrea's listing and, you know, my client likes it, I like it, I'm gonna quiz her, you know? Why? But she's standing there for that reason. She wants me to buy this house. I'm gonna ask her, hey, when did y'all fix the foundation? Oh, we did it last month. Great, you know? If she's the listing agent and I don't even know all my questions yet, I'm still gonna introduce myself to her. I'm gonna introduce my client. You know, that way, if they do like it, I can call her back and be like, hey, we met at the open house. Oh yeah, I remember you. You're the guy with the big ears. You know, okay. But at least we have that rapport, you know, and then I can ask her other questions like, hey, we talked about the foundation. Were you able to get those foundation papers? Oh, yes, I did. Here they go. I don't think you can ever make a mistake with over communicating with your company, you know, with your title company, your lender, the other agent, your client. One thing I always tell people is real estate's like chess, right? So we're trying to figure out what their move is going to be, because when they make that move, well, I already need to know what the next move is going to be. I always want to be ahead of you. And I always tell my clients, you'll know everything I know when I know it, and I'll give you my forecast. So I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. A lot of times I'm right, but I'm not always right. You know, but at least I'll tell them, hey, I think they're going to say this. I think they're going to do that. You know, for example, in repairs, hey, we want a credit for $2,000. Great. Would you take one? Great. Okay. So I know if I can get more than 1,000 from a client, I win. I'm going to pitch for 2. I'm going to negotiate with them. I don't need to call her back every 5 minutes, but I know, okay, I got to get 1,000. In my head, I'm like, well, I need 1,500. You know, so I might stop at 1,500 and be like, hey, we got to have 1,500. It's a deal breaker. Well, okay, I'll go to 1,000, you know, but I know what she wants. I'm going to deliver on that. Hey, I got you 1,500. How do you feel? I know it's a smiley face. Because here's the back end thing. If I can put a smile on her face every time I call her, when I call her and say, hey, have you had a good experience? I want her to say yes. Do you know anybody that I can help? Any of your friends? That answer I know is going to be yes, you know, but I have to prep her for that, you know, and I tell people when I meet them, you know, I'm going to ask you at the end, did I do a good job? And I want that answer to be yes. And all throughout the way, I'm going to know. So at the end of the day, if she says, Brian, you were the worst damn agent I've ever had, why didn't I know that? You know, like I should know, you know, and the only reason I wouldn't know would be if I wrote the contract and then called her several months later and was like, hey, did you move? My mailers are coming back. Oh yeah, I sold you that house and I didn't talk to you. Probably she doesn't like me. What other thoughts?
I have a question about something I experienced this weekend. I just a little background. I've been licensed in the state of Virginia for about 7 years, but I just started here in Texas and really started to fully commit to real estate. But I did an open house this past weekend. It was a successful open house. I had this couple I was talking to that I really developed some really good rapport with. But then when things sort of went down the tubes with them, or nothing bad happened, but when I was talking to them, I was doing an open house in an area I'd never truly had been in before. It was up in Frisco. It was a senior community, and they said, "Do you work with a lot of houses around here?" And I, of course, wanted to be completely honest. I just said, "Well, you know, I live in Plano. I tend to work in Plano, Frisco, Richardson, really all over the Metroplex." But I could sort of see their body language change because I think they were looking for someone who was a specialist in that area. How would you, you know, while staying honest and genuine, how would you handle something like that? Or would you just say sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some?
Well, you know, I mean, you can't be all things to all people. But was the question, do you work this area?
Yes, it was like, have you worked? Do you work with homes in this specific area or this, you know, this area of Frisco?
I mean, wherever that is, you know, I would have done a little bit of research on the back end. So for example, you said a senior community, so maybe it was a Del Webb, you know,
I would have researched that so that I knew at least one thing about the neighborhood I was in. But yeah, I would have said, absolutely, yes, I do. Are you interested in, are you primarily interested in a senior community such as this? But I would have tried to, it's like politics, like I would have answered the question and then I would have taken it back to the point where I'm in control.
Sure.
Yes, I know this area well. What is it that you're looking for? Oh, well, we want a senior community. Oh, well, this community is, and there's 6 listings for sale. Here they are. Can I show you some of these after class? But I would hesitate. I think you get that more on listings where people say, I want an agent that lives in this neighborhood. Well, like I can't help you. I don't live there, but I can sell your house better than any agent that doesn't live in this neighborhood. Here's why. You got to turn the conversation back to your talking.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Did y'all really hear all that? Well, but remember, everything is negotiable, right? And so you have to maintain the professional composure. So don't lie, don't mislead, any of those things. But, I only ever got called on this once, but people would say, well, how long have you been in real estate? My answer was, it feels like forever. Did I answer the question? I mean, that's a political answer, like I didn't tell them, but I didn't just shut up and run away. But only one person ever was like, no, really, man, how long have you been doing it? I was like, it's been about 9 days, Another thing that worked well is, you can talk about broker stats, if you're on a team or you join a team, you can talk about all the team members. But, someone says, hey, how long have you been doing this? You can say, I got my license recently or whatever. And I have already represented this many transactions, find a way to answer the question, but make yourself still the most relevant person in the conversation. Yeah.
I'm done, I'm a hustler, I'm here to work for you, like we did totally sell that.
I got one time when I was all like, hey, guess what? You're my first client ever. And you know what that means? That all of my attention is only based on you. And she was like, really? Yeah. I also lost one time. It was a phone call I got to try and list this house. And the lady said, do you have children? And I said, yes. And she said, oh, I assume that you love your children. And I said, I very much do. I said, my daughter is this, my son is that. And she said, that's all I need to know. I won't hire an agent that loves their children more than they love me. And I was like, have a nice day. Have a nice day.
I'd be worried about the agent who didn't love their kids more.
But she was very clear. I do not care about you. I do not care about your kids. I am the star. I am Madonna. We are not a match. Okay. I lost another one time where the guy, I showed him a couple houses. And he said, what kind of dog do you have? And I said, well, we don't have a dog, we have a cat. And I also mentioned that I had kids or something like that. And he said, okay. And I followed up with him the next day or something. I was like, hey, so are we gonna go back out? And he said, no, you're a breeder. And I don't work with people that breed. I was like, okay. I didn't really know what that meant, but I was like, I guess I shouldn't be reproductive. I'm sorry. But you know what? Like, good luck to you, man. Like, we're not a match. I'd rather not waste any more time. You can't be all things to everybody, and you got to be okay with that. Sometimes it's a blessing. What are the thoughts? You got maybe 10 minutes? Yep, less than 10 minutes. Or we can scoot early. Yay, party over. Any good offers? Y'all give me some feedback before you go. Like, how was the class? What could I do good? What could I do better? Y'all's input helps me to make a better difference for someone else.
More ideas and like it makes it seem like it's not just I don't know, kind of nowhere.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I agree. I like that also. When it's personal and it's not so abstract. Because like right now we don't have that day-to-day, like how do those conversations go? And so just kind of hearing the thoughts of people so you can have that proper rebuttal or know what to say ahead of time helps.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
2 things in closing. Number one, I believe in pay it forward.
So I'm here for you today, not because the Market Center paid me, but because I was in your chair before. And people taught and helped me. The first day I had my license, I had a listing appointment. I didn't even know what that meant. And an agent sat with me for hours and helped me prep everything. He told me what to do. Like I went in there and just spit back out everything he said. I had no idea what I was doing. But someone took their time to help me. I take my time to help you. All I ask is that at some point down the line that you would take your time and you help someone else. Fair? We agree to that? The other thing is, I mentioned at the start of the class, we're always looking for people to help us with our open houses. We're looking to grow our team because 93 deals by yourself is kind of crazy. And I used to have a nice set of hair and that's all. So if you've ever given a thought to being on a team, I want you to have your independence. I want you to do your thing. But if you think a team could be worth it, come by and chat with us. Really, like through that secret passage on the other side, that's where we are. We'd love to get to know you if there's an opportunity to help and work together and collaborate. All right. Thank you. Well, with that, I don't know what to do with the Zoom thing. I think everybody left. But it's been nice to meet y'all. I hope y'all are all good. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Stay safe.
What's your experience been with appraisal?
Thank you.
As far as, I just have this feeling that my realtor told the appraiser what the offer was, and he made it. The appraisal fit.
The appraiser has a contract anyway.
Yeah. This seems so wrong to me.
There's
I looked at comps, and it was going to be here, and he comes in with $1,000 of the offer, which was $50,000 different.
Yeah, man, there's a whole conversation class / therapy session about appraisals. Because I don't know, this is, again, Astrid Bryan's 2 cents. I mean, I don't see a lot of, there's not a way you can do it. I've had a listing that I felt amazingly good about the comps, and we got blown up. I had one this year. We were the lowest sale in the neighborhood in like 2 years. Like he destroyed us. And I challenged it. Everything about his appraisal was wrong. He still shot me down and told me no.
Don't get another one?
Nope, because the appraisal is property of the buyer. I had the listing, and the buyer's like, hey man, so we're going to close and you're going to have to cut it down $25,000. I mean, it sucked, but we fought it, we lost. The appraiser just wouldn't change it. I've had others where I'm like, man, there's no way on God's earth we're going to get this. We need to get this appraisal clause. And then it appraises. The one that's closing tomorrow that I beat for $1, my numbers were 15 under that. And I told him, I was like, man, if we're going to win this, you might have to have 15 grand. And when we bit our nails, it came in, but the listing agent and I were buddies, in this deal. Like, I want to work with you. You want to work with me. Why? We want to get it closed. She submitted her comps. I checked her comps. She sent them to the appraiser. This is why this house is best. She and I worked on it to make sure that's right. Why? Because my client did not want to pay $15,000 over. So she and I collaborated and we got that appraisal done. But it's a hit or miss, man. Like the best answer is either religion or pitchforks and torches. It's
But if you have time, you're the buyer's agent, and you get crazy appraisal, and you go get another one.
No, because why? So if
you think it's way off,
doesn't matter. That's the point of the appraisal. So here's the thing: I'm the listing agent, and you think that we agreed on a price of $500, right? It's contract price is $500. Your numbers say it's $450. Appraisal comes in at $500. I'm the listing agent. I'm in party mode. You're mad because, well, it shouldn't have appraised for that. But as the listing agent, no, we have met that test. That is appraised. We're moving on to closing. You can get another appraisal if you want. I ain't renegotiate. Why? Because you already did. But the buyer's not going to spend money to get a new appraisal. The buyer cannot terminate now because the appraisal was satisfied. Nope. For me, listing agent, game over. You're closing, you're done. I'm not going to listen to that appraisal.
The buyer agent, if the deal was for $500 and it came in at $450, you could get a second appraisal to get the value up.
Yes, but if the value comes in and if the value came in higher than what you wanted, And yeah, you can get a second appraisal. So say it was reversed. 500 was the contract price. The appraisal comes in at 450. Well, I don't like that, you know, as the listing agent. You might like it as the buyer's agent, but the deal's going to die unless we fix it, right? So you could have a second appraisal, but only in conventional can you do that.
FHA, the appraisal sticks with the home.
6 months.
6 months.
Same with VA and USDA. So unless it's a conventional buyer, we're blown up anyway. And that sucks for me because, hey, the contract price was 500, the appraisal is 450. What's going to happen? I'm going to have to come down. You're going to have to come up. We're going to meet in the middle, or the deal is dead. But if it was the other way, you thought it should be 450, but you made me an offer of 500 and it passed muster. Amen. Here's an example. I got a deal to close in next week. And the appraiser, the contract price was 741. We had an amendment for concessions that brought it down to 733.5. The lender didn't turn in the amendment. So the contract, the appraiser still thought it was 741. Appraisal came in at 750. So what's happening? Seller's happy, deal's done. Buyer's happy, price is overvalued, right? They bought with equity. Then we turn around and we realize that the appraiser said there was a pool. There was no pool. The appraiser short measured the house 400 feet. So there's all these problems with the appraisal. Buyer wants a new appraisal. Oh, this one's all stupid. How can it hit value if there's no pool and she missed 400 feet? Good question. Listing agent's like, you had an appraisal, it made value, we're not accepting another appraisal. Close. Okay, what ended up happening? The appraiser refused to recognize that they short measured the house and argued that there was a pool without providing a picture of a pool at that house. They took a pool picture of another house, which you could clearly see that wasn't there. That appraiser argued until the lender finally just paid to have it redone by someone else internally. And so the size was right, they took off the pool, but the appraiser argued that that house had a pool and that there was no second pool. And she gave me value by almost $20,000 by missing a pool and 400 feet. Does that make sense? No. Why? I mean, how much time is it going to take? How much money is it going to take? Am I going to advocate that the buyer sue the appraiser? Heck no. You know, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to court. But what I did was, hey, yo, Mr. Lender Dude, we got a problem. You know, Lender Dude fixed it. So who's a hero? Me, Lender Dude. Everybody's happy. Buyer got the piece of paper he wanted. Seller got the price that he needed. Ultimate Brian's 2-cent scenario, appraisals are a shame. But it's a required thing. What you need to know as the listing agent is you love them and you're going to make the biggest smile that you can, put Vaseline on your teeth and smile, smile, smile. Because an appraiser will break or make your deal. You know, hint, you have a listing with dogs, get them out. Because if the appraiser has to come back, you will not make value. You know, if you inconvenience them, you reschedule them. Like messing with God. You don't want to get fat. Just not gonna. You look horrified by that thought.
Can make a big difference.
So here's the funny thing. Back when we could go and do things in public, remember that? I went to this course. If you can ever take a class from Bob Baker, you should do it. He is absolutely hilarious. And he's like this wealth of knowledge, right? Bob Baker, best instructor ever. And he was doing a class, it might have been Legal One or something like that. And this appraiser guy got up and asked the question. He's like, I'm an appraiser. Everyone in the room was like, boo! You know, he's like, hey, you know, so the appraiser's like, no, realtors don't know what you're doing anyway. I mean, and this got to one of these things where like, you know, the one appraiser was at the mic and all the realtors in the room were angry. And Bob actually was all like, all right, Mr. Appraiser guy, I think you should sit down before somebody knifes you. You know, he doesn't like it. But he was asking some question like, well, why are realtors so stupid? You know, it's like, oh, well, there are 100 of them. It's a damn box. But it was funny, like the booing. I was thinking of it. All right, that's fun. I'm out. I hope you all had a good time.
Thank you for your time, my friend.
Yeah.
What was that?
A
Thank you
business
guys
card?
online. Y'all have a great day.
I can hook y'all up. Let me just do this.